The materials you'll need for this project are cardboard, metallic gold spray paint, continental red spray paint, metallic silver spray paint, a pack of the smallest LEDs you can find, preferably 3 or more, Velcro, hot glue and hot glue sticks, any scratch paper, masking tape, an X-Acto knife, scissors, a box cutter, and a pen or pencil. So this is the design I came up with for the chest plate. I just drew it out on some paper and then sketched it out. So now I'm going to attach them together. And to attach these pieces together, I'm just going to use a little piece of cardboard in between the gap so the gap stays and it doesn't get hidden. So after I glued the two pieces together, I realized that I wanted it to be a bit more rigid. So I'm going to glue a piece of coat hanger wire into the back side. I only used one piece. So now I have put the chest plate together, and when looking on the photo, there's a shape that goes around here and then wraps all the way around to the back. So now I am going to add that piece. So this is basically just a rectangle of cardboard with a few triangles cut out of it to give it a much more complex shape. Alright, so now I have added those two side pieces. So now we're going to work on closing up the back. Alright, so the piece I designed to connect in between there and there on the back is done. So now I just need to add some Velcro on each side so we can stick it together. I have glued on one side and marked where the other side needs to be attached. So I'm going to put a strip of Velcro down there and then attach it so you can get in and out of it. So now that the back plate is in place and you can open it on one side, I am now going to work on the panels that fill out the rest of the back. So right now I'm doing the T piece in the middle. This is the sketch I made on some paper, and this piece is going to have a little edge of cardboard around it so that it can be glued behind this piece. So this piece was pretty simple to glue in. I just made sure to put it behind those two back flaps. And now I'm working on the two panels on the sides, which are kind of in L shapes. A really handy trick to getting the perfect shape is to hold a piece of paper up behind the surface, and then you trace out the shape that looks good and make sure that it's accurate to the photo, and then you just trace that piece out on some cardboard. And on the left side of this piece, I could glue it on because there's no Velcro on that side, but on the right piece, I only glued it on at the bottom. So the reason why I only glued this one on at the bottom is because there's Velcro right here. So I'm going to put Velcro behind this so this can attach. So when I want to take it apart, I can just pop that off and then put it on. So I used the same trick of putting a piece of scratch paper behind the panel and then tracing it out, and this shape is almost a square, but it has a triangular shape on top of it. And make sure to curve it on the edge that's facing the front so it gives the arm socket a more round look. A really easy way to get good bend lines in cardboard is to look at the small faint lines and then bend it along the corrugation. Now I have attached the whole back, so for now that is done. So now I'm going to work on the front half, and I have designed the piece that is going to go right here, so I'm going to glue that on. Now that I have that piece glued on, I need to glue on the traps. So I basically just took pieces of paper and put it from this front edge to the back edge, and then just made it so it was slightly curved so it would bevel outwards. So now I'm going to go glue these on. Now that I have all the basic pieces attached, I'm just going to roll into the time lapse with me attaching all of the details. The detail panels on this chest plate aren't that difficult. I just traced out a shape that looked right on a piece of cardboard and then I cut some detail lines into that, and then I cut it out and glued it on. And on the back, I added those gold panels that are at the very bottom, and I just made sure to give them the right shape. Alright, so now I have finished all the details on the piece. So now I'm going to paint these little strips here gold, this piece in the middle silver, and then on the back this T-piece gold, and these gold on the sides. Then we'll mask everything off and then paint the rest of it red. What I found to work best when painting with metallic paints is to do very small, light coats and build it up slowly to get a nicer finish. If you just do one heavy coat, then you might get a few unwanted drips. So the masking part was very easy. I just covered the gold and silver parts with some masking tape, and then I painted the whole piece with some Continental Red, and I made sure to get it in every gap of the piece. Also, another tip is to remember that taking off the masking tape is just as important as putting it on, so just make sure to be very careful and go nice and slow. Now that the paint has had a few hours to cure, I'm going to remove the masking tape and reveal some nice, clean, crisp lines. I also went ahead and painted a separate square of cardboard, silver, and this I used for all the small silver details that I didn't want to mask off earlier. So just, again, look at your reference images, trace out the shape onto your silver piece, and then cut it out and glue it on. And I did this on both the front and the back of the piece. Make sure to find some really good high quality reference images of the front and the back if you're going to make this. When it came to making the shoulder, I just tried to make it look as smooth as possible and not have any ugly seams. Just make sure that you'll be covering the top and most of the sides with a bit of gold paneling, so that is where I placed most of my seams. The first shoulder pad that I made was a bit too wide, so I cut it down the middle just to make it a bit more narrow and form-fitting to my own shoulder. So the biceps were just rolls of cardboard that I glued together, and then I cut some notches in it and folded the cardboard to make a kind of raised area in the front. Alright, I have now finished both shoulders and both biceps. So now I'm going to go paint the biceps gold and the shoulders silver as a base. And then I'm also going to paint a flat piece of cardboard gold. I also did the same thing with this metallic paint where I used many light coats, about 2 to 3, to build up a nice clean color. And I did this with the plate of gold, the biceps, and the shoulders. After the paint has fully cured, I am going to finish up the shoulder pads with some gold paneling. Now that I've finished the panel work on the shoulders, I'm now going to do the same thing on the biceps. So now I have removed a bit of material on the top of the bicep, so the shoulder piece will rest easier once I stick the two together with some Velcro. Now I'm taking some small pieces of nylon webbed fabric, and I'm going to attach the trap piece to the tip of the shoulder. Now that I've attached both of the shoulders, I am now going to put a piece of plastic and a piece of paper, and then this LED to light up the chest. With the forearms, I kind of did a similar thing to the biceps, where it started as a roll of cardboard that I glued together, and then I trimmed it at one edge and cut out a semicircle at the other to make room for my elbow to bend. And then on one side there's a raised portion, so I also added that. And then at the back of the elbow there's also a little fin. Now that I have finished the second forearm piece, I'm gonna go outside and paint these with some Continental Red. With this, I did the same Continental Red paint job as the chest plate, where I just put on a few light coats to cover the whole surface. And then I also painted another panel with some silver. But with this panel, I put a bit too much paint on at once, and it kind of shows in the final project. Now I'm just gonna finish up the forearms with a few gold details, and then there's some silver striping too. Alright, so now after I have finished the forearms, I am going to attach the bicep piece and the forearm piece with a little bit of black fabric. Alright, so for those black pieces of fabric, I folded them to have this detail line in the middle, and then I hit them with a little bit of silver spray paint just so they aren't too black. So then I marked the very edge for where I'm going to glue them in, and so yeah, I'll go glue those in. Alright, so now I have attached the forearms to the biceps. So now we're going to work on the gloves. So I found some cheap gardening gloves, and I've just put them on an old empty spray paint can so I can spray paint them with some red, and then we'll cover them with panels. So I'll go do that. This was my first experience spray painting fabric, and I later figured out that the paint would go on a lot better if I just put the glove on my hands and covered my wrist with a bit of paper and then just sprayed it on like that. So now it came to the tedious task of attaching all the finger panels, and this took me a while, so if you're gonna do this, just prepare to have a long time with a very repetitive process that gets a little old very quickly. I would basically just cut a square of cardboard and then trim the edges to make it more of an octagon shape, and then glue it on, and then on the inside where the palm is, I would attach another thin strip of cardboard to seal it up. And after 30 minutes of work, I have finally finished the first finger. I'm really proud of this, but it took a very long time. But now I gotta go do 9 more fingers. And the rest of the fingers will have 3 panels except for the thumbs. The thumbs will only have 2 panels each. So after 2 hours of work, I finished only one of the hand's fingers. So now I have to do 4 more fingers on this hand. And then after that, we'll move on to the palms. Alright, so now I have finished all the fingers. It took a while, but I think the effect is worth it. So now I'm going to work on the palms. So now I have both of the front of the hand panels done and both of the back of the hand panels done. So now I'm going to go paint these with some Continental Red and then put a few silver details on them when I get back. The only difference in painting these pieces is with the back of the hand plates, I painted them on the inside as well as the outside. Now that these panels are in from painting, I'm going to make a strip of silver here and then some silver details on the edges of the handguard. So now it's time to attach the back of the hand panels and the palm panels. And with the back of the hand panels, I'm going to attach them with some Velcro. You could also attach them with some fabric or something. They just need to be flexible, so when you move your wrist up, the piece will move as well. Alright, so now that I have put the two together, I just went ahead and added a bit of elastic so that the hand plate will stay on and you can still flex it. So now I cut out the fabric on the inside of the light. So now I'm going to put a layer of paper and then some plastic over that. I am done with the hands. So the last thing I need to do is make the neck guard. Alright, so this is what my template of the neck is looking like so far. So this is what the neck piece is looking like. I basically just made a cone shape and then I cut some various details out of it. So now I'm going to fill this in and then seal up the back with some Velcro. this panel I am gluing in here is just the offcut of the neck detail line. And the Velcro in the back, you don't need that much because a little bit will hold the whole thing together. Alright, so this is what it's looking like with the neck armor on. So that's a perfect fit. So now I'm going to go paint it with some Continental Red real quick. And then that's it. And after I waited for the paint to dry, I was done. With the first half at least, but the rest is for my next video. But I really enjoyed making this part of the project, and if you enjoyed it too, then I recommend that you subscribe to my channel where more videos like this will be coming. If you have any suggestions on what I should make next, please place them down in the comments section below. This has been RGR Productions, signing off, till next time.